shall I render to the Lord for all his bounty to me?
Welcome to Veiled in Grace. I'm Kyra.
And I'm Anna. We are Cradle Orthodox Christians
And we're here to talk about what it's like being Orthodox women
in a very non-Orthodox world. And today we would like to, well, I don't know if we would like to discuss this topic,
We would not
but
like to.
we feel it's important
not
to
like
discuss
to.
this topic of how Orthodox Christian women can battle or overcome fears and anxieties in a Christian way, through scripture and through the teachings of church fathers, and what we have found works and doesn't work. And we're all still in this
Absolutely.
everyday battle.
It is an everyday battle. I feel like it definitely impacts some people and women more than others, more on a day-to-day basis, and others in a very situational type of manner. Do you feel like you're someone that struggles with anxiety as a whole, or is it more of a situational type thing?
For me, it's definitely situational or hormonal.
Yeah, that too. I feel like I am the type of person that struggles with anxiety just as a whole. Like it's just like a daily thing that in many situations every day I'm having to overcome thoughts of being anxious about something. And do you feel like when you're feeling anxious about something, is it like a whole body experience for you? Like you are aware that you are anxious and feeling uncomfortable? Or is it something that you're like, I'm feeling off, I don't really know why, and more down that path?
Mine is definitely more obvious to me. Like it, all of a sudden, it's like a switch and I have to not spiral. Because I'd say probably growing up, I would get more anxiety with school because it just stressed me out big time. So I was just constantly stressed and anxious about taking tests, about getting good grades, and not really wanting to be at school, but wanting to work on music and doing everything but school. So I feel like I was constantly in just like just never feeling settled until I want to say until I was out of school. But then when I was out of school, I was still doing music, and that would give me a sense of sometimes like I'm not doing enough and I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed and not able to be at peace. So it really wasn't until I think I got out of that world and then just, and had a child and was finally felt like at peace with like where I was meant to be and my purpose.
So you feel like having a child made you less anxious?
In that sense of like everyday type of stress and
uncertainty
anxiety
of what you were doing in life.
Yes. Right. But as far as like situational anxiety, I never experienced like the downward deep spiral of anxiety and despair until I was, had already had children. Then all of a sudden, it was actually, I remember my husband and I were in bed at night talking about people, like a friend who had suffered from really bad anxiety. And I remember thinking like, it's so hard for me to imagine. I've never really experienced it. And that night I woke up at like 3 a.m. with the most intense, irrational case of anxiety.
The panic.
About like the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? It was and that's when I was like, those anxiety demons, they are tricky. Like all I had to do was talk about it and there they were.
You want to know what it feels like, Anna? Here's what it feels like.
Yes. It was so bizarre. So then ever since then I had like little triggers that could trigger that. Strange enough, it's having people, like a large amount of people coming to my house for a party, and I get anxious about where everyone's going to park their vehicles. Like, it's the most
I only
bizarre.
have 20 acres. I don't know where I'm going to park them all.
But like, I start spiraling about it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so bizarre. And my husband's like,
It is. That's the little
Anna,
things.
like, why are you worried about? But it's, especially in the middle of the night, all of a sudden
Yeah.
it just like creeps up on me. So I feel like I have gotten that a little bit more under control.
You
But
seem
I
like you're
just,
at least aware of the feelings when they occur. I feel like some people struggle with feeling anxious and uneasy and not knowing where it's coming from and it just being a general
right.
feeling.
Yeah.
So, I, on the other hand, get anxious situationally, but also just in day-to-day life. Like, it is something that is a burden that I wish that no one would have to deal with because it's overwhelming. I was struggled with anxiety when I was younger, similarly to you when I was in school because school was just very overwhelming. I went to a really large school, a lot of students, a lot of people bullying each other, all sorts of, horrible things, teachers that were not so nice all of the time. And it just like, it weighs on you so heavy when you're a type A kind of person like I am and you want to be doing well all of the time and you want to be successful, but then you feel like you're falling short and then it like gives you the like heart palpitations of like, well, what can I do and what can I fix and all sorts of things. And then as I got older, I would agree that having children made me feel at ease with my like life calling because I wanted to be a mother. I want to be a mother. I love having children, but they're very a lot.
They're very stressful also.
I mean, I have 3 kids under the age of 6 still, and they're a lot. And on a day to day, just certain situations can be very overwhelming. And I struggle with handling overwhelming situations and not spiraling and just like feeling almost jittery because of whatever is happening in that moment. But I also just suffer from general anxious feelings. Like they might, which maybe other listeners feel the same way sometimes. It's hard to explain because you can't always tie it back to like one specific thing, like you thinking about cars. Sure, I get stressed out if I know I'm having someone come to my house because I want my bathroom to look pristine and I want this to look this way. And it just makes me anxious if things don't look perfect, even though they likely don't care if things look perfect. But I have just days where I can wake up and I just like, your heart feels like it's racing and you just like, you feel like you drank too much coffee. Like you feel like you drank 6 cups of coffee and you're just like on edge, like waiting for something to happen when nothing is happening. And it's really just a normal day. And I thankfully am pretty aware of when I'm feeling that way. And it's difficult. And a lot of people that struggle with anxiety cannot overcome it because they don't know where to turn when you deal with those types of thoughts
When you're
or when
spiraling.
you're
Yeah.
spiraling, especially women that are pregnant and hormonal
Or
or
postpartum.
postpartum. I mean, we've talked before about the postpartum spirals of being anxious about everything. I mean, just all of the little things.
Or really, really sad.
The
And
depression
you
that
don't
can
know
come.
why.
Definitely. But to me, when I think of anxiety, I think of feeling anxious, feeling almost jittery, not like your body and your mind and your heart are like not at ease. You're not chill. You might seem chill, but you don't feel chill on the inside. And when you have those type of feelings, it is daunting and intimidating. And if you don't know where to turn, and you don't have God, and you don't have scripture, and you don't have saints to pray to, I don't know where I would be, because I feel like it would take me down a really dark road if I didn't have something to center myself on. When you get feelings like that and you're feeling anxious in those situations, do you have something that you do to help bring yourself back to where you're at and overcome it?
So I had an experience during COVID, within like probably around the 2-week mark after, and where I wasn't scared of getting sick, but listening to podcasts and all the worldly things happening at the moment, getting overwhelmed with like tyranny and governmental control and the world is ending and, just all this dark, heavy stuff. And all of a sudden, it just sent me straight down, and so quickly that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to respond. And I was saying the Jesus prayer, but even that, I felt like demons were attacking me, not even allowing me to say it properly. And so it was 3 days. My husband had to stay home from work because I couldn't function. I just sat on the couch. I didn't eat. He was like forcing me to drink tea. And that's like all. I would take a couple sips of tea, but I couldn't move. I was just like ghost-like, and
it's crippling for many people.
It was, and I was still within a year postpartum of my third child. So I'm sure hormones also were playing a part in allowing me to get to that point. But I tried to just go outside, go in the garden, be in the sunshine, take walks. We all went to a park and just tried to walk, and I tried to just enjoy watching my children. And I remember being like, letting them have ice cream because I was like, what's it matter anymore?
What's the matter? Ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Like, I just
whatever flavor you want.
Yeah, and it took, it was 3 days. But then I started being able to kind of get myself out of it through prayer and the Jesus prayer, and just focusing on that and trying not, taking those evil thoughts and just trying to focus on Christ. But it's hard to pray even when you're like that. It's hard to do anything. It's hard to know what to do. Yeah, it's hard to know. It really is crippling. And so then, almost like monthly with my cycle, all of a sudden I would start to feel a little bit of anxiety creep on. And I'd be like, and I would ask Armatushka to pray for me. Yeah, I think I would ask you, pray for me. I'd ask my husband. He would like try to do things to just kind of keep my spirits up so I wouldn't, because I could just feel it kind of starting to creep on. And I was like, nope, I'm not going there. Not today, Satan,
Yeah.
And eventually it got less and less, which I do think hormones were playing a big part in all of this. And so I am trying to balance my hormones naturally to eliminate anything extra that I don't need going on in my life. So that's for me, because it's so situational, I just have to redirect. And it really is the Jesus prayer is the only thing that I can like easily focus on and go to.
I feel like people that suffer with anxiety and depression and, all sorts of mental health, anything, oftentimes feel very alone in their struggle. And I think it's just because it's not talked about a lot. I know that, depression has really come to the center of discussion in a lot of areas, and people have just trying to bring light to, like, you're not alone if you're the one feeling this way, but anxiety ties right in there with it. There are a lot of women especially that deal with anxiety to the point that it is crippling and they can't function, and they're on their couch and just there for day after day. And it's hard because of our hormones and the way that our brain functions. We can present our anxious feelings in a different way than men do. So to them, it might be difficult for them to understand why we're feeling a certain way. And part of the struggle is that it's difficult for us to understand why we're feeling a certain way. And to just recognize that you're not alone. Other people also are being attacked in this way, and there are ways to overcome it. That to me is can put things at ease. I struggle a lot at night when I'm like trying to sleep and all of the thoughts of the day come running back to your mind, and they just, like, I think about all of the things that I need to do, and the insomnia sets in. And then you laugh because I send you a text message at like 4 a.m. that you get the next day, and you're like, why were you awake at 4 a.m.? And I'm like, because I was thinking about the flyer that we need to make for this the next, weren't you? And you're like, no, I was sleeping.
I'm like, get off your phone. The blue light is messing up your sleep even more.
And I'm like, but I was thinking about it and I needed to write it down or tell someone, because if I didn't, then it was going to, sometimes that
Right.
helps too. Like journaling, I usually don't have my phone on. I'll have it on airplane mode, but I also am not great at keeping like a notebook with me. So I typically will open up the notes in my phone, and then I will write down what I'm thinking of. And I'm like, okay, it's there.
Right.
I can stop feeling anxious about forgetting it. I have it written down. I can release it from my brain for the night because it's time to shut off my brain.
I do find like I can't be on my phone or computer working on something that is producing a lot of thought processing, like planning kind of things. If I'm doing that right before bed, I can't just go to sleep. So I've really tried to not be on my phone or work on any projects or anything right before I want to be going to sleep, because I definitely have noticed like I need that time to come down. And I'll just and I do try to read before bed to also just make me more tired, but also get my brain away from whatever it is I'm thinking, and kind of just going back into just, not an intense book, obviously, but just, something that I can read that doesn't give me anxiety and doesn't,
Yeah.
that keeps me
My brain
peaceful
likes to like run the computer nonstop though. So even when I'm not working on something physically, it's like still thinking of all of the things and like making checklists of what needs done. I think I'm just wired that way.
Yeah.
That I'm like, even when I'm not actually working on it, I'm laying in bed planning something out when I need to just shut it off
Right.
and be at peace. And I mean, that's the struggle of life, of day-to-day life. And I think that also is part of what stems into my personal anxious thoughts are, I get anxious about just life as a whole. And I know that's what I was saying, like an all-encompassing thing, but like surviving day to day. Like, how will we do this? What should we do if this arises? How could we afford that? Or what should we do if this happens? Or what should we do if that happens? And it's like a struggle to live in the moment and be at peace where you are at and trust in the Lord.
It's usually when I'm like,
It's a
girl,
big struggle.
let God, let go, let God.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just
so
as
easy for the
as that.
support. Well, but see, it's difficult because for some people it is that simple. It's so like
Yeah.
like for someone to just say let it go, like yeah, it seems so easy to let it go. And I have a wonderful husband who also is like the ultimate, like, God will provide for everything. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know he will, but my brain doesn't think that all the time.
Yeah.
My brain thinks that I need to plan everything out. And if I don't, then I'm concerned and I'm anxious feeling. And I mean, that's what I was telling you before we even started all of this today. We sit down and Anna's like, let's talk about anxiety. We've written it out. We've thought about it a little bit, and we're 2 minutes from filming, and I'm looking at you and I'm like, let's not. Let's just pick a different topic. Because even the thought of just reliving anxious thoughts makes me anxious. It makes me jittery, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, I'm just thinking about how now the anxiety demons are going to attack me tonight when I try to go to bed.
No, because today we're going to remember to say our closing prayer
Yes.
before we leave. And then it won't be an attack. So, yes, there's the Jesus prayer. That's a great way to center ourselves whenever
Which,
we're
if you're
feeling
not
attacked.
familiar,
Yeah, do you want to talk about the Jesus prayer?
so I think we said on the last episode also, it's Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And it really can be as short as just Jesus. You know, that's what we kind of teach young children, like just say the name of Jesus when you're anxious or scared. But saying that longer, it's meditative.
Singing it.
Singing
My children
it.
in the car will just sing it
Yeah,
over
so
and
it just
over
really,
again.
I'll do that like if I'm walking, especially if I'm by myself, I'll walk and just sing the Jesus prayer. And I do find, because I am a singer, it helps keep me singing it, keep me saying it
Yeah.
and doing it. But it's definitely a practice that you do have to learn to, the second a thought comes into your mind, switch to the Jesus prayer and to know to say that and to just keep saying it until you're at peace. And it can be a long time that you're saying it.
I have my prayer rope on today. I made sure I brought it with me for this exact moment because I knew we were going to have to be talking about what we use for our day to day. And I don't always have this massive one with me. I usually have a small one on my wrist.
Yeah, there's like smaller ones like this.
Yeah, like a 33 knot one. They're basically little teaching moment here for anyone that has never seen a prayer rope. A prayer rope is like a tool for Orthodox Christians to use. And they have knots that are tied on them, and the knots are tied in a specific way. And when each knot is being tied, it has the Jesus prayers being said as it is being tied. So you know that like this little rope itself has been said with prayer and made prayerfully for you to use in your own prayer life. So this one I really like. This is like my nighttime prayer rope. It sits a lot of times on my nightstand because when I am overwhelmed and I can't sleep, I will grab it and then I will start at the one side of it and I will go around and I will say the Jesus prayer for every single knot on it. And yeah, there are some nights that I'm like on my fifth time around and I'm like, okay, Lord, I could fall asleep any moment now, but I'll just keep on praying. And eventually I do. Usually I'll just fall asleep and the thoughts eventually, like, you get to the point that nothing else is in your brain but the Jesus prayer. And then your brain is so relaxed that you go into a nice sleep.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger and I would have a hard time falling asleep and then I'd realize, oh, it's because I didn't say my prayers. And so then I would say my prayers and then I'd fall asleep every single time.
It's like a meditative type thing, meditating on prayer.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I know like in psychology, they will use similar techniques to help people that have difficulty sleeping. I know this because I was an anxious child who went to therapy. And in therapy as a child, that was part of like teaching you how to sleep, and to go to sleep was visualizations. So like I had a recording of my therapist and it was basically her like calmly just talking about something that was like, here's a staircase, we're going to walk down it and we're just going to take one step at a time. And it was like, take the first step and now take the next step, and just something calming. But it was the same concept of to shut your brain off to all of the other things that it's thinking and bring it to a state of peace. And it's exactly what the Jesus prayer does for many people.
It reminds me of, so I was really scared of the idea of childbirth when I was younger. So much so that I was like, well, if I can't get pregnant, I'm totally fine with adopting. So when I met my husband, told him, like, I do plan to adopt regardless. Like, I plan to adopt. I need to know that you're on board. And he thought, like, oh, can you not have children? Like, then he was,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, I don't know. I assume I
don't know,
can,
I'm
but
just
I don't know.
saying.
But I'm just saying I plan to adopt, so I want to do this. And so then once we got married and I was actually thinking about trying to plan, us planners plan for everything, read all the things before we do things,
Trying to plan out our whole life.
yes, started researching childbirth. And because I also had fears of needle from a traumatic situation when I was 7 and had to have surgery, I had a fear of needles and doctors and anything of the sort. So I was like, how do I not do that? Like, how do I have a baby and not have to deal with any of that? And that ultimately led me to home birth. So then I started researching that. And then the idea of, like, okay, but it's going to be so painful, like, how do I get past this? And that's when I discovered hypnosis for childbirth. And it was very meditative. It's just like a soft spoken voice, just of affirmations.
That ASMR.
Whatever that is. But it was just positive affirmations, repeating those affirmations to myself. We both have had them, birth banners, for our last month of pregnancy and then birth, to just constantly postpartum, constantly be surrounding yourself with positive thoughts. And so that's another thing, guarding our thoughts, guarding what we're watching and what we're reading. If you know that you get anxious or fearful easily of those things, then just don't do it. Stay away from it.
I'll share a little bit about something here that kind of relates to birth as well. I had a planned home birth for my first birth. We will discuss in detail later things that went horribly wrong at the last moment, but turned into an emergency C-section and a lot of trauma and just a lot of mental anguish and anxiety and fear, and just the thought of having another child caused a lot of anxiety. And honestly, I don't think that the anxiety about having another child I was putting on myself at the beginning, a lot of it came from other people, surprisingly, because we live in this world that people don't know who to trust, and they don't trust in God, and they just know that the statistics say if this happened to you once, then it can happen to you again. And leading up to the birth of my second child, especially as I was getting closer to my birth, because I planned another home birth, I was so anxious. I was so anxious. Every anxious thought that you could imagine, I felt it. And I think a lot of moms feel it to some degree, just, oh, this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen. But I lived it like 21 months prior, and I knew how bad things can be. And I just really did not want that to happen again. And I just reminded myself often that I made it out fine. My baby made it out fine. And the Lord was with us the whole time. And we learned things from it. We learned a lot of patience. We learned a lot of trust. And He was obviously trying to teach us something from it. But the fear and anxiety that approach leading into your second birth, with the thoughts of that could happen again, are very overwhelming. So I actually had like wood carved into, like, I don't even know what it was, some decorative piece of wood. And I still have it in our little nursery today. Scripture from Isaiah. And I told Anna I will do my best to not cry while I read it, because it's just so beautiful. So it's from Isaiah 43. The Lord is saying, "Fear not, for I redeemed you. I called you by name, for you are mine. If you pass through water, I am with you, and the rivers shall not overflow you. If you pass through fire, you shall not be burned up, nor shall the flame consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, who saves you.
Mm.
And it
It's
just,
like that's written for birth. With
It
the
is.
waters,
It
the
really-
birth waters
it
and the
really
ring of
felt like-
fire. And
it
then
really felt like it really felt like
Yeah.
it was. And it was why I just, over and over again, fear not, for I am with you. It's just, you start off, I am with you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Like, just, you slow it down and you read it and you're like, he's speaking to me. And it applies to birth. It applies to if you're feeling anxious. It applies to
any situation.
if you're
yeah.
feeling depressed, any type of situation, any sort of fearful situation that you might find yourself in. And he's just telling you, he's basically saying, when it gets as bad as it can get, I'm still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're passing through water, I'm with you. When you're in the flames, they're not going to consume you. Like, it won't overtake you.
I often think of saints' stories and saints who were martyred, or at least or even people attempted to kill them, but they couldn't situations. I'm always so inspired because some people might look at it as like, oh, I don't want like this horrific ending. But really, these saints were in this state, this peaceful state that I was talking about, that, you know, Christ is with you.
You're not afraid.
And you're not afraid. You're literally not feeling the pain of someone trying to kill you
Yeah.
or torture you. These saints, like that's what, in that way, it was so infuriating for the people doing it to them, because they're like, why does this not hurt you?
Yeah.
Why is this not killing you? And they
Yeah.
eventually have to behead them to kill them. And, you know, it's because you can get to this state, such a state with Christ, knowing that like,
He's there.
He is with you. And I know in my births, that's what it was. I would envision myself sitting on like in a cave on the side of a mountain in front of like the ocean. And I was sitting there with my Saint Anna and the Theotokos. And we were just sitting there praying together, and they were with me. And that's like the image that I had in my head, you know, for my births, to like keep myself in this, you know, state of peace. Because yes, with every birth, I did get more anxious.
Yeah.
It was this feeling of, oh, the last one went so well. How could I ever have another one so good? You know,
and
so
I
it was
feel
the opposite of you.
But
Like
and I felt the same way after having my third child, that like I'm not even pregnant with a fourth child, and I already have been like, can things go well again?
Right.
Because they went well, and I don't know if they can go well again, because it's
Right.
not like, but it's just releasing and trusting that God wants things to go well. When things don't go well, it's usually there's a reason for it.
it's not that he's doing it to us.
He's not doing it to us, but like I said, it took some time to overcome and learn from, why are you feeling that way? What, you know, what is he teaching you by allowing something like that to happen? Whereas it is different from when you're getting attacked in an anxious way.
Mhm.
There's a difference between anxiety that we might be putting on ourselves in situations and things that God allows to happen to teach us something, and attacks that we're getting from the evil one, where he's like, there's no reason, Anna, for you to be concerned with how many people are parking at your house, but I'm going to make you be concerned about it.
Yeah.
Just for fun. Like, that sounds cool.
Right. There's a difference of like fearful anxiety.
Yes. Yeah.
And then a real attack of, or like the story, were you there, that I told in the middle of the night, all of a sudden I heard music playing.
No. What happened?
So I woke up in the middle of the night.
Recently?
Oh, it was like within the last probably year or two.
Okay.
I woke up, my husband's next to me, everything, all is peaceful in the house. But I hear music playing. It sounds like there's a radio on, almost like downstairs, like someone's having a party. And I'm like, is there someone like outside playing music?
In the woods?
Yeah. Like, and so then I get up, I go out to the living area.
You didn't wake your husband up?
No.
Oh, I definitely was.
So I go out into the living area and I'm like, there's no music. What on earth? I go and I lay down. There's music. It was the most bizarre. And I was like, oh, you anxiety demons. You're trying to get me all
You're just
riled
trying
up
to
right
make me all
now
anxious.
about music.
Yeah.
You know, like it was like the smallest thing. Like, and that's my husband's like, you think they would really do, like, that's what they're going to use? I'm like, they'll do whatever they
Well,
can.
yeah, because
like,
it wasn't the music. It was like the anxiety of like what's happening. that's
Someone's in
playing
my
music.
house.
Someone's in my house. Someone's outside my house.
Right.
Someone's
right. Like
you
trying
know,
to get, you
like
know, push me.
He knows it'll bother you.
Right. And so I had to
Yeah.
sit there. And so I remember, I believe it was Saint Ephrem of Arizona who, or I guess he's not.
Elder
Ephrem of Arizona,
one day.
who said, and I'll paraphrase because I haven't been able to find the exact quote ever since, but he basically said, you know, when you wake up in the middle of the night with anxious thoughts, you need to sit up or stand up. Don't just keep laying down, but sit up and say the Jesus prayer for 5 minutes. Not more, not less. And then lay down. And so, and I had just happened to read this quote, like, you know, that week. And so I was
no
like,
coincidence.
you know, I hear this music playing and I'm like, and I still hadn't woken my husband up yet because I'm like, no, I can do this. You know, I'm like pep talking myself. And so I sat up and I said the Jesus prayer out loud. I kept looking at the clock to make sure I was on the 5-minute mark. And I got to the 5 minutes and I was like, and I laid back down. The music stopped and I fell back to sleep.
Wow.
It was the most insane experience.
But that's the little things, like, you know, just the anxiety attacks over such a small little thing.
Right.
It's just so silly.
Yeah.
But
we
the
do have
evil one
tools.
knows that he can come after you in such a small
He doesn't even have to
way,
do anything
and
big.
he doesn't even have to try. He's like,
That's how
well,
weak
I'm just
I
gonna
am.
play some music. That's how weak we
in the
all
middle of the
are.
night. When I always say the part about like me having anxiety about how people are going to park in my driveway, I have a really long driveway, like
Really
over
long
700
driveway.
feet long. We have plenty of space
I've
for
seen
people
like
to.
30 cars parked in your driveway before.
And like we've always entertained and loved entertaining. And I told my husband the last time, I was like, this is because the evil one doesn't want us to have all these people at our home. He doesn't want us to have hospitality,
Community.
and
Yeah.
community, and showing people our home and them seeing our icons and our priests at our party blessing the food and our church friends all over. The evil one doesn't want
Yeah.
that. So he's going to try to stop it in any way possible. And I have to be like, no.
I'm not going to allow it. Not today. It's interesting to hear something like that because it goes to show how many things people are struggling with that you just have no idea about. I've known you for 10 years, something like that.
Has it been that long now?
Yeah. Like I never knew that. I don't think I ever knew that you had anxious feelings about things like that. And that's what it's just, there are so many people in the world around us struggling with such little things that we don't even know. And we really need to have grace for people.
Exactly. And not
At all
compare yourself
times.
to other people because you don't know what they're struggling with. And just because they might not talk about it or you didn't happen to hear about it or whatever, it doesn't mean that they're not struggling or if their life looks, you know, we have the whole thing about social media, somebody else's life looking so perfect.
And then oftentimes you find out that things are not as they
Right.
look.
Right.
Because it's just a glimpse, a snapshot. You don't see what they're feeling. You don't know what their heart is feeling.
It's a highlight reel, not a low light reel.
Yeah.
We
So-
don't share the bad things. We
Oh,
share all
yeah.
the good things.
That's what we edit out, right?
Yeah.
To an extent. But I know that I have at times expressed to my friends like moments that I'm feeling anxious or days that I'm feeling anxious. And I also know that I've had friends that have done similarly and told me that they just, I don't know why, but today I'm just so anxious about everything. I have a bad feeling that something's going to happen, or you know, like you leaving here the other day, you should have told me that you thought that you were feeling anxious before you left because it was twilight time.
Oh.
And
I don't say that was anxious though. Honestly, I feel like that was like God telling me I'm going to hit a deer.
And then it just
And then
happened.
I did. And it was like, because I had the thought and I was like, I'm going to hit a deer tonight. It's twilight. Even though I've driven in twilight plenty of times and never hit a deer. This is my first deer in 40 years. And
Cannot believe that.
I know, living in a rural area for so long and never. So then it was almost like, it was like slow motion.
Yeah.
Because I knew.
Like, I already knew what was happening,
Yes,
Lord.
it was
Thanks
like
for
this
the
deer
preparation.
just comes out that I swear I saw on the way here in that same spot.
It just waited there for 3 hours for you.
I honestly did
It could have.
It could have.
It might have.
And then it just jumped out of the bushes, and I'm going way too fast to be able to stop beforehand, and it just hits the front of my car and goes flying. I was thankful I was driving my minivan, so it's high enough that like it didn't go up over the windshield or anything. But you know, my car came to a stop, and I'm like, huh,
That was fun.
that's what it's like to hit a deer.
Yep.
Okay. And the car's still working, so I'm like, okay. So I drive home, and I get home, and
You didn't freak out?
no.
Oh my
And so I
goodness.
get home, and
You're so strong.
I pull into the garage, and I walk
"Just
in, and my
don't-
husband's
honey,
like,
don't,
how'd it go?
Don't
I was
look at
like,
the car.
I was like, I think I was more anxious about my husband being mad that I hit a deer.
Oh, and
Not that
he
would get me-
wouldn't.
No, but like, I just, and I'm like, I hit a deer. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I knew
He's
it was
like,
going
how
to
bad
happen.
is it? And I was like, I'm like, the whole front is all smashed,
Pretty-
but like,
pretty bad. Pretty bad.
it's what's expected. I don't know when you hit a deer.
Oh, I could not believe that you've never hit a deer, because I've been married for 7 years now. So I've lived in a much more rural area for the past 7 years now. And we hit 3 deer in one day once on Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
You're like, I've never hit a deer. And I was like, must be nice.
No, and my husband had never hit a deer
I
either
just got my
until
car fixed and then hit a deer in the same spot the next year.
last year. He hit 2 like very close together. So we both made it a really long time before hitting a deer. Now we're probably just going to hit all the deer.
Well, I was feeling anxious for you just last night
thanks.
when you were going home. And I was like, she better make it home okay, because the deer are out all the time.
I have learned in time, and my mother-in-law recently was like, I'm just surprised how well you handle things sometimes. Because sometimes I'm like, it is what it is, it's, and God will provide. Like, I just got, I get kind of like
Why
this
I
laid
need
back.
people like you and my husband in my life that are just there to remind me that God will provide when I'm over here freaking out.
Because I'm like, I don't want to freak out. So
I don't want to freak out either.
So I'm just not going to worry about it.
Must be nice. I don't know what that's like. I don't want to. It's just like, yeah, it's one of those things you don't want to feel that way. You just do. And then you struggle with trying to overcome. It's a lack of trust, really, is what it is.
I
Because
think you'll get there. You'll
you
learn.
should trust in the Lord and trust that He will provide for you. And then He always does. And then you're like, oh, that's what they were talking about. He provides.
Well, and you have to remember, I have like over a decade on you. So you have more time
Over a decade.
to chill
Oh, I guess.
out. And, because you were how old when I first met you? What, 17?
17.
Right. Like you were a kid. And so I've seen so much growth in these last 10 years in you.
I'm
like
glad.
You've simmered down. You're learning to like,
Have I?
you have. It's
Or
been
am I
years.
just hiding it
No,
better?
well, I can't tell that, but
I have this theory. I've probably told it to you before. I keep telling it to my like best friends and they think I'm a little crazy, but people that have like 7+ children and how the moms are just like as cool as a cucumber all the time. Like not a thing in the world could stress them out. Like they're just, oh, that kid's hanging off the ceiling? Cool. Like that kid painted on the walls? Cool. So I'm just like, I think you just need to have more children. And then it brings you to a point of being chill all the time.
they say motherhood makes you more holy. So
And my
it
friends,
helps chill you out. You see it all.
my friends are like, honey, no, that's not. They were like, no, those women have just seen so much and they've been through so much that they are just too far gone. And I'm like, well,
No.
maybe that's just what I need to do. You know, I'm like, we want a big family. Maybe we just need to have a big family. And then I will eventually reach the level of
Like my
chill.
girlfriend and I say, because she has 3 children and then she's been fostering 2, and that's what we plan to do. And we're always like, just embrace the chaos, just add it on. Like, come
yeah.
on. Like, there's never going to be a perfect time. You're never going to feel ready for anything in life. Just, you can plan. You can make certain steps to make your life a little less stressful. But at the end of the day,
The chaos isn't even always what's as anxiety inducing to me. Like the chaos, I've learned a lot of just like
embrace
let
it.
it be and just like when people come over, I'm like it's a zoo in
Yeah.
here. Like I have 3 little boys. It's wild, you know? When we talked about your Instagram the other day, I went back since you said you didn't delete it, and then I looked at it and then I saw a picture of one of your children walking across your counters in your kitchen and I was like, "Oh, good. Okay." So my children are not the only ones. But the children, like, yeah, they cause anxiety about things, but that chaos I embrace pretty well. A lot of the anxiety that I have is like a fear-based anxiety, like fearful of the unknown and trusting in what's to come, and like the planning side of my brain, wanting to be able to plan everything to a T and just like check it off the list and like this one exactly as it should and this one exactly as it should, and then things not going that way. That causes a lot of anxiety for me. And I do turn a lot to the Theotokos, the Mother of God, because she is like a shining example of someone that walked a walk like we did, obviously much more holy than we are, but was thrown into a situation that she did not anticipate whatsoever, and just was
was
like,
not a part of her plan.
let's let it happen to me. So if you haven't caught on, we're talking about the Annunciation. And when the angel Gabriel came to Theotokos, the Mother of God, and I do have, I think, the scripture open somewhere here. I can give you more specific quotes. So in Luke 1, verse 30 says, "Then the angel said to her, 'Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God, and behold, you will conceive in your womb and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Jesus.'" So Mary was scared. She was nervous. She was anxious. Could you imagine?
I
Like
mean, she was what, 13, 14?
young. Yeah.
I think she was
young.
14 when she gave birth, so she could have been there. I don't know when her, but
I mean, we knew she was special. Like her upbringing, we
Right.
knew that she was special. I mean, you have the
She
entrance
knew
into
her-
the temple, and she kind of knew that she was special too. But I don't think she ever anticipated something like this happening. And you know what she says? She's like, yeah, she could be fearful. She could be very overwhelmed. And she just says, "Behold, I'm the handmaiden of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your will." And I repeat that often. I incorporated it into my wedding, and I really need to bring myself back to it on a day-to-day basis and just be like the Theotokos. Let it be to me according to your will. What's going to happen is what you want to happen. It's not going to happen for any other reason. As long as I am putting myself on the right path and following you and trusting in you, then I need to trust that what you're allowing to happen is what was made to happen.
Right. If you know you're praying constantly, then you know it's what's meant to be.
Yeah.
Because you've done you're doing all that you know and that you have in your capabilities. And so you just have to trust that that's, even if it's something bad, that it was meant to teach you or teach somebody else.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that will happen. Things will bad will happen to us, but to help someone else in their walk. And we kind of have to take that burden
Yeah.
or that cross and bear it.
Exactly. The Theotokos, she's just such a beautiful example for us as women, for people that
Right, because she could have said no.
she could have said no.
She had
free will.
Yes, she has free will, and she could
And
have
she
said
didn't.
no.
She
And
said, let it happen.
yeah,
And she, faced scrutiny because of it.
right. A 13, 14-year-old girl,
Betrothed.
betrothed, pregnant.
Yeah. She faced the scrutiny of it. And
Yeah.
it's just a shining example of, do you see what beautiful things can happen if you just trust and you just have faith and you believe?
And bad things happen too. Yeah, I mean, she went through a lot of pain and agony
Because of that.
because of saying yes, but
something even greater came out of it.
right. And she knew this, but it's still, even Christ knew what he was going to do, and it still gave him anxiety
about it
and fears. He still, cried. He still had those moments of getting angry or getting, so I mean, it's okay to have these feelings and these fears and anxieties, but to not let it consume you like it did me for 3 straight days.
I feel like turning to the Theotokos and turning to the saints and turning to, I mean, obviously you want to turn to God, but asking others for help is just as beneficial. Having others pray to God for you is just as beneficial.
It's more help.
It's why we have all of these saints that were holy, holy, holy people. And it's why we choose a patron saint or we're given a patron saint when we were born, and it's so that we can pray to that saint so that they can also be there praying to God with us, because they see our struggles and they want to help us. The Theotokos, she sees our struggles. She wants to ask the Lord to have mercy on us and to be there for us when she knows that we are struggling. We are under her veil. We are under her protection as well. And she will not leave us, like you've said before. If you call out to her and ask her, Theotokos, praise to the Lord for me, ask him to give me, peace, and she will.
Last year, I had some health issues that I've been dealing with for basically since my second son was born. But I got to the point where I was like trying so hard to figure out the root cause. And I need to, I want to heal it, and, constantly praying about it. And I started just getting so into, researching and trying to find all the right things that I ended up like making myself more sick and causing more problems. And at the end of the day, I had to be like, you know what? Because I ended up being like sick for Holy Friday and Holy Saturday and Pascha. Like I felt terrible. And I remember being like, I am not letting Satan ruin my Pascha.
Yeah.
No.
It's our day.
But I felt awful. I just felt terrible because I was like obsessing over.
You were anxious about.
I was anxious about that. I'm like, whatever's going on, I'm going to die and it's going to kill me, and I need to find what it is. And I need, and I just, again, spiraling. And so I eventually, after that, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to stop. I will continue to pray I pray to Saint Nectarios just for our overall health and well-being. And if this is something that I have to live with for the rest of my life, so be it. If the Lord heals me, wonderful. But maybe I was meant to just have this and to humble me or to teach me something, like I just have to accept it for what it is. And, same with other different health struggles I've had, with painful menstrual cycles, that's been such a cross for me my whole life. And I've kind of come to the point of like, okay, Lord, I guess this is just because I've tried the diet and I've tried, all the things, balancing hormones, all the things, and I still continue to do these things, but just I have to accept that this is something I have to bear. And the more I obsess over trying to control the situation and try to find this healing, I could be making things worse. So I need, there has to be a balance of praying, but healing might not be what is needed, or the healing might look differently. I remember seeing this talk at a conference, and it was about how to heal from cancer. And there was this cancer survivor. He had successfully healed from cancer, and he, at one point stopped and he's like, people often want for me to give them this
Clear-cut answer.
And he was like, healing for one person might mean complete and true healing from the disease and never getting it again. And healing for another person might be on their deathbed in the hospital and they are both being healed by cancer. And so we have to think of it on the spiritual level of healing, not just physical. And because when we get anxious and fearful about all these possibilities, we have to trust that whichever direction we go, we have to trust that that's what God wants for us.
There are so many people that struggle with the fearful thoughts of death.
Mm-hmm.
And we pray that we're far from it, but we also know that that's not the end. Like, we want to live a long, beautiful life here on this earth, but being fearful of dying should not be something that we're concerned about. We don't know when or how we are going to die. The Lord knows that. And like all things, yes, we should take care of our bodies. We should not, disregard the temple that we are meant to be taking care of. But we also are putting ourselves, like you were saying, in this downward spiral if we are fixated on trying to fix something that might not even be fixable. Anxiety revolving around all sorts of things that are out of our control, which is most things, like, when we will die, or
who will take care of my children after if I
Yeah.
die. That for me, that's like, okay, if I
Yeah.
die, I go to heaven. Woohoo. But my children, they'll be without a mother. I start spiraling about that side of it.
Oh, see, I'm not as concerned about my children. I'm like, oh, my husband's wonderful. He will do just fine. My
Yes, but he
anxiety
has to
from
work.
that,
Who's going to homeschool my children?
True.
Who's going to feed them nutrient-dense food?
he can bring them to my house. My anxiety from it comes more from like, you're not allowed to die, to my husband. Like,
Yes.
sorry, you're not allowed to die
Mm-hmm.
because I can't handle this without you.
Right. No,
So
right. Because my husband used to have to travel a lot, or he just
Yeah.
worked, a 45-minute drive away. So I was constantly feeling like, what if he doesn't come home today?
yeah,
What if something happens? I can't take care of all this.
I can't do what you do.
No.
Yeah.
Like, but just having it. Okay. No, we're not going to think about
If
that.
it's
We're
meant
not
to
gonna-
be, it is meant to be. And if it happens, we will.
And it's interesting because I'll tell
Do it when
him
we get
that I
there.
have these thoughts, and he's like, he never thinks of, like,
Yeah.
it just never
Wasn't
crosses
a
his
thought that
mind.
crossed their mind.
And I'm like, oh, it's like every day.
Yeah.
Every day I think about it, and I have to not, like, nope, recenter. We're not going to go down that
Yep. I feel
rabbit
that.
hole. And
Things
even
that men don't often have pop in their minds like
Right.
we do.
they get anxious about other things.
So if you have friends, though, that are feeling anxious, and even if they're not Orthodox, because I run into that a lot. I have a lot of friends that aren't Orthodox. If people are feeling anxious and they express that to you, what do you often advise them to do?
I mean, my first thing is always go for a walk in the sunshine and then put your bare feet on the ground and put your face to the sun Like that's like step one for, especially for a non-Christian. Like that
Yeah.
would be, that's the simplest thing, like to be out in God's creation. How can you not, just feel better by
In
doing that?
quiet.
Right. Go for, like, nobody goes for a walk. Like we said, nobody goes for a walk and comes back and doesn't feel better.
I mean,
Like you said, well, what if it's really hot, or what if I hurt myself? Okay. But in general,
if you're pushing to the side the like 3 screaming kids asking for dinner at 10 a.m. and
but
like,
even that, like when my family, like when it's just utter chaos and I'm like, all right,
everybody
time for a walk.
outside.
Everybody's going outside. We're going for a walk. And they're like, nah, nah. But then we go for a walk. Everyone has fun. Everybody comes back. So much better.
Yeah.
So much happier.
Some fresh air.
Yes. So, I mean, that is my number one. Like, get outside. We spend way too much time inside. Our ancestors we're not inside as often as we are. So, like, get outside, get some fresh air and some sunshine, and put your feet in the dirt. Like, hug a tree. And I know,
Quite literally, like, go hug a tree.
yes,
Actually.
we are energetic beings. And so if our energy is off, go reset that energy. Be in God's creation. He gave it to us for a reason.
Yeah.
It's for us. So enjoy it, appreciate it, love it, use it.
Go in some water. It's what I always,
especially if it's salt water.
yes, I always am reminding people. I'm like, well, in addition to going outside, drink some water, hydrate your body. A lot of times, if we're feeling anxious, just kind of resetting and replenishing and making sure that your body is being cared for. Make sure that you ate some food. Make sure that you drank some water. That can bring you back to a good spot. And I remember, I want to say there were 3 things, but I know 2 things with babies. I was always told, like when my babies were little, that if they were just crying and fussy and just really having a hard time, that you should either take them outside or put them in water. And that it will always help.
Yeah. And I mean, because they say we're like 70 or 80% water, but then I listened recently to this podcast that we actually are like 99% water on like a different molecular level. So we're going to be affected just like the tides, the water. We have to ground ourselves and get outside and live a more natural life of within God's creation. We can't be holed up on a computer or inside even reading a book.
He didn't make
listening
the
to
birds
podcasts
silent.
Right.
He made the birds chirp.
Right. I mean, I live in the woods, so at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll never forget when my firstborn was born. It was at 6:30 in the morning, and we didn't have air conditioning, and it was July 25th. It was so hot, and so we had all the windows open, and I just remember the birds were singing. Like as he came out, it was like they were all singing for him.
You're like, we waited 4 days for this.
Yes, it was so beautiful. And well, we waited 4 days because then he was born on my St. Anna name day. So it had to be that way.
Yeah.
Something that I've been like a more recent fear, anxiety that I have to not let take over is the fact that we, are going through the process of applying to foster, to adopt. And so it's entering the world of the unknown. Having your own children, like I could control. I know what to eat when I'm pregnant, and I'm going to plan this home birth.
Their upbringing.
I know their upbringing, and I'm not. I raise them with respect for with respect, and I feed them nutrient dense food so that way I know they're healthy, and I have all this control, right? Like I've controlled all of this so far.
You're gonna get a 4-year-old that only eats Cheerios.
And so I'm now, yes, I have to let go and let God and trust that He will give us whatever
Guidance.
children and the guidance and the strength, and it will make sense one day, if not right away. But it really is a huge leap of faith, you know? And like you said, like it's not even, sometimes it's the people around you that don't understand, and they try to put those fears and anxieties on you. Like, no, that's the evil one trying to get in
And that's
under
one
my
of the
skin.
hardest parts. Step one is recognizing
Right.
that it is not a thought of your own.
Right.
It is not something that you have to have and be a part of you. It's coming from an evil place, and you're strong enough to block it out
Yes.
and say no. I think a big takeaway from today as a whole is just to have grace for people, because there are a lot of people struggling with not just anxiety, but all sorts of things. And you don't always know what's going on behind the scenes in their home, in their mind, in their heart. And if you aren't showing compassion towards people, it can just make the situation worse for them. And we should be treating everyone with love and respect. And in doing that, it will just make everyone happier. It'll make you feel better. It'll make them feel better. It just seems like a win-win.
Amen.
I think that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in to Veiled in Grace. We are an Orthodox women's lifestyle podcast. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to like and subscribe and share it with a friend.
Also, feel free to leave a comment below if something we said in this episode or other episodes helped you. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have ideas for future things that you'd like us to discuss, we want to know. And if you are just listening to this podcast, feel free to, if you like what you heard, give us a review to help us be able to
reach a greater audience.
Yes. So we thank you for tuning in today. We love you. God bless you.
What shall I render to the